To begin tonight's discussion, here's a question from Margaret Weiss.
How does Israel's reaction to the Hamas attack on the 7th of October compare to the US reaction to 9/11 when the US, UK, Australia and other democratic nations entered into a 20-year war against the Taliban in Afghanistan with many civilian casualties?
Thanks, Margaret. I might start with you, Keith.
No, thank you for that question, Margot. I think it's a really important question. There are many comparisons and there are many lessons, and I think that the world owes itself the opportunity to learn from those lessons, and Australia certainly did. The comparisons are that both involved a massive intelligence failure, both involved the deliberate attack of civilians, and the deliberate attack was designed to traumatise a nation. And like September 11 is a mark in the United States calendar, there's a before and there's an after. In Israel, the 7th of October will have a before and an after. Now, there are many, many lessons to learn. And some of them I think we should consider are that goodwill fades. And I've noticed that for Israel, that goodwill has faded quicker than it did for the United States. And we have to ask ourselves why. And I know that many Israelis are asking themselves why. We also have to make sure that tactical victories don't undermine your strategic objective. And the decisions that Israel will make now will reverberate through this conflict to the point where it will end. And there's two ways you can approach what happened. One is the lesson from Al-Qaeda. And the United States was quite successful in dealing with Al-Qaeda. The other is an occupation and a counterinsurgency with the Taliban. And that was a huge part of my life. I did 3 tours there. That ended in a failure. It handed the country back to the Taliban. So I think there are lessons to learn there, and there are certainly lessons in the issue of war crimes, and I'm happy to discuss that further.
Well, you've just gone to war crimes, so I'm going to ask you, because many people say what they're seeing now, for instance, the refugee camp, are war crimes. Do you see them that way?
I don't, and I know that's a distasteful answer to hear from many people, that they don't want to hear that, because when you see civilians killed, of course, your heart just aches for the tragedy, the human tragedy that's occurred.
There are over 9,000 now, and many of them children.
And look, even if it was just a fraction of that's still a tragedy. So one of the many lessons from Afghanistan and Iraq is that there's a moral, legal and strategic reason why you should avoid civilian casualties. Israel knows that. This does not assist Israel to have civilians killed, not at all. Now, the laws of war involved a concept called proportionality. It's a distasteful concept to say out loud, but it doesn't mean that the mere fact of civilians being killed is evidence of a war crime. It means that you have to assess and balance the military objective that you're trying to achieve and whether that is proportionate to the civilian casualties, even if they are unintended.
But we're talking